First story: The Claw Beneath. I was 10 when my parents left me home alone overnight for the first time. They had to visit my sick uncle in Denver, and since we lived in a quiet Nebraska town where nothing ever happened, they thought I'd be fine. The first night was normal. I microwaved a frozen pizza, watched cartoons, and played video games until I was too tired to keep my eyes open. My bed sat low to the ground, barely leaving enough space underneath to fit a shoebox. That's why, when I first heard it, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. Scratch, scratch! A slow, deliberate sound coming from beneath my bed. I held my breath. I told myself it was the house settling, a branch tapping against the window, something normal. But then I felt it, cold fingers wrapping around my ankle. I screamed and yanked my leg away, scrambling to turn on my bedside lamp. The moment the light flicked on, the feeling vanished. My skin burned where the thing had touched me, but there was nothing there. Just silence. I barely slept that night, but when my parents called the next morning, I lied. "Everything's fine," I told them. The second night, it got worse. I stayed up as late as I could, forcing my eyes open, trying to convince myself that I was just imagining things. But at some point, exhaustion won. I dozed off. And then, the fingers came back. This time, they didn't just grab me, they pulled. My body jerked downward, my leg disappearing under the bed up to my knee. I kicked and thrashed, my heels slamming against the wooden floor. A sharp pain shot up my leg as something with claws dug into my skin. I screamed. The lamp fell over, flooding the room with light, and suddenly, I was free. The thing was gone. The next morning, I refused to be alone in that house any longer. I begged my parents to come home. They were reluctant, but eventually agreed. That night, with them just down the hall, I finally felt safe. Until I woke up. The room was silent, but something felt wrong. My heart pounded as I stared at the ceiling, too afraid to move. Then, scratch, scratch! I bit my lip to keep from crying. I didn't want my parents to think I was crazy. I told myself I was safe now. The thing wouldn't come back with them here. Would it? I never got the answer because we left the next day. My parents said they just felt like moving. We packed everything and drove to a new house in Iowa, far away from that cursed bedroom. I tried to move on, but the past never lets go. It's been years. I'm 26 now, living in a high-rise apartment in Chicago. The city is loud, bright, full of life. There's no darkness here, no empty spaces. At least that's what I thought. Last night, I woke up in a cold sweat. My chest was tight, my breath shallow. The air in my room felt thick, suffocating. I told myself it was just a nightmare, until I felt it. Ice-cold fingers wrapping around my ankle. My breath hitched, my body stiffened, my mind screamed, "No, this isn't real!" But then, the fingers tightened, and something sharp, something with claws, dragged across my skin. Second story. The thing in the basement. I was home alone that night. My parents had gone to a wedding in another town, leaving me in charge of our old house in Willow Creek. I didn't mind. I was 17, old enough to enjoy some peace and quiet. It started with a noise from the basement, a low, dragging sound like something heavy being pulled across the floor. I froze, listening. Our basement was always creepy, cold, damp, and filled with old junk, but no one was supposed to be down there. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The basement door was slightly open. I was sure I had closed it earlier. My heart pounded, but I told myself it was probably just the old pipes settling. Still, I needed to check. As I stepped onto the wooden stairs, the air turned ice cold. My breath came out in white puffs. The flashlight beam trembled in my hand as I scanned the room. Boxes, old furniture, my dad's tools, nothing unusual. Then I saw it. In the farthest corner, something moved. A shape crouched in the darkness, too large to be a person. The light hit its face, or what should have been a face. It had no eyes, just deep, hollow pits. Its mouth was a jagged gash stretching too wide, too unnatural. It let out a sound, a low, guttural croak, and I felt something deep in my bones scream at me to run. But my legs wouldn't move. Then it started crawling toward me. Its movements were unnatural, twitching and jerking like a broken puppet. Long fingers scraped against the floor, nails clicking on the wood. I bolted up the stairs, slamming the door shut behind me. I locked it, then pressed my back against it, panting. The house was silent. Had I imagined it? Then a slow, deliberate knock came from the other side. I ran to my room, locking the door and shoving my dresser against it. My phone? Where was my phone? I had dropped it in the basement. The knocking continued, steady, patient. Then a whisper, my own voice, mimicked perfectly. Let me in. I covered my ears, squeezing my eyes shut. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. A long silence. Then the doorknob to my room turned, and this time the door wasn't locked. I lunged for it, but before I could reach, it swung open. The hallway was dark. I could barely see anything, but I felt something there. A presence, watching, waiting. Then, from the hallway, my own voice spoke again. You left the basement door open. I choked on my breath. No, I had locked it. I had locked it. Something stepped into the light, but it wasn't me. It had my shape, my features, but its eyes, empty, black pits, bored into me with a knowing grin. It reached toward me, and before I could scream, everything went black. I woke up hours later. The house was silent. The basement door was closed. My phone was right next to me on the floor, as if it had never been lost. But I wasn't alone. Somewhere in the house, something breathed. And when I looked in the mirror, my reflection smiled. I didn't. Third story. The Things in the Fog. I was alone that night. My parents had left for the weekend, and I had the whole house to myself. It wasn't the first time, and honestly, I liked the quiet. The house was an old two-story place on the outskirts of Salem, Massachusetts. It sat at the edge of a dense forest, and when the fog rolled in, it felt like we were completely isolated from the rest of the world. That night, the fog was thicker than ever. It swallowed up the trees, the street, even the neighbor's house. I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through my phone, when I heard it. A soft scratching at the back door. At first, I ignored it, probably just a branch scraping against the glass. But then came the knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I froze. The backyard was fenced in. No one should be back there. My heart pounded as I stood up and moved toward the door. I flicked on the porch light, but the fog was too dense. I couldn't see a thing. Another knock, this time harder. I grabbed a kitchen knife before inching closer. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door and pulled it open just a crack. Cold, damp air rushed in. Nothing. The backyard was empty. No footprints, no signs of movement, just swirling fog. I locked the door and backed away, trying to shake the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. Then I heard it again, only this time it wasn't coming from the backyard. It was at the front door. 3 slow knocks. I turned so fast I almost tripped. How could they have moved that quickly? My breathing was ragged as I crept toward the peephole. I looked outside. The fog was thick, but something was out there. A shape, tall and thin, standing completely still. My stomach dropped. Its head tilted like it knew I was watching. Then it knocked again. I stumbled back. My mind screamed at me to call the cops, but my hands wouldn't work. The thing outside pressed against the door, the wood creaking under its weight. I ran upstairs and locked myself in my bedroom. My phone slipped from my sweaty hands as I dialed 911. The operator picked up. I started to speak, but then a new sound. Not knocking, not scratching, a voice. Right outside my bedroom window. Low, guttural, and wrong. "Let me in," I turned, shaking. My window was on the second floor. Nothing should be able to reach it, but something was there. Long fingers tapped against the glass. The fog outside shifted, and I saw it. Its face, hollow, stretched too wide with empty black holes where eyes should be. I screamed. The window rattled. The glass cracked. Then, the lights went out, and the last thing I heard was my bedroom door creaking open.